So today I'm going to be putting in the worm bin into one of the garden beds that we have here. So this is one I've created earlier. However, as you can see, I've put a fair few holes in there. The thing is, I kept it probably 10 to 15 centimetres below the lid levels where I started the holes, only because when I bury it, I need to keep a certain distance above the ground level so it doesn't get full of sand, etc. There's an example of one I've done earlier on, so you can see it in there, and then also done the same on the bottom. I have put some holes in the bottom in two locations. Firstly, I've put 4 holes in this section because it is the lower part, and then another 4 here, so that should help assist with drainage. When it goes into the bed, it won't be lying straight onto the soil. What I've done in the other instance there is I've put a bit of gravel underneath and then placed the tub on top, so if it does get flooded by rain, or the sprinklers create too much water, then the earthworms shouldn't drown and this thing shouldn't get full of water, because it is going to be sitting on top of a bed of gravel. That's the dog playing with his toy in the background. And so I think there's probably enough holes, and this is food grade plastic. It is used to transport Kalamata olives around the world. I've got some blue metal here that will sit on the bottom of the worm depository to keep the water from flooding the garden bed, some cocoa peat, and some food scraps that I can throw in there on top. Most importantly is the worms. These are not earthworms, these are composting worms, and in here I have a mixture of red and blue tiger worms. There's probably about 30 or 40 in there, so I'll be putting them in there, so they should be happy for a little while. And over the next week I will continue to fill up the bucket with some food scraps, and once I get to a point I'll close it off, and I'll let it sit there for about 2 or 3 months. The other one I have in situ already, I closed off yesterday, so I'm going to jot that, and I'll be doing a follow-up video. And probably 3 months there might be a twilight video, because obviously the earthworms or the worms don't like direct sunlight, so if I do it in the evening, I'll be able to capture them in their glory. So I'll probably just pull the whole bucket up and then dump it into a wheelbarrow and show you the contents and see what's happening in there. Hopefully they haven't escaped into the bed. So there's my hole that I've dug this morning. So I'm actually emptying out this bed. It's here in Western Australia, which is about to go into spring, so I'll be planting all my cucumbers and tomatoes and various things. So I'll put this in, and then I'll refresh the bed with some cow manure and some chicken manure, and plant some veggies so we get cracking. First thing I'll be putting in the bucket, just making sure that it's at the level I want. Don't forget that the natural soil level is about here, so it will be a bit higher given that I'm going to put my metal in. So I shall do that right now. That gives me 1 or 2 inches to play with. Spread that out and level that up a bit. And then that will sit on top. We're not being too fussed about whether it's level or not at this stage. Next thing will be the cocoa peat, which will be the bedding for the worms. Probably just 2 or 3 inches there, just to give them something comfortable to nest in. And the next thing I want to do is put some garden scraps in. Banana skins, good, great for composting. I've thrown in some parsley there as well. level in there. Lastly but not least are the earthworms, so I'll just show you again. Sorry, I keep on saying earthworms, they're not earthworms, they're composting worms, which are red and blue tiger worms. So I'm going to pop them in there. They'll make their way through to the cocoa peat. Lastly, what I'll do is I'll put a lid on it. Put the lid on. And like I say, when I want to add some more scraps in there, I just open that up and toss them in there. Now what I'm going to do is backfill around the depository, and that'll be it. Then I can start working this bed, ready to plant in some seedlings and some seeds. There's the finished product, all ready to go. Flattening out the soil, I dug up some natural earthworms that are considerably larger. They're about twice the size of the compost worms, but they are grey in colour, so rather than add them to the bin, I've left them in the soil where they are most happy.